product validation. Okay, so with product validation, we talk about a few things here. Number one, we talk about the importance of taking action. Why is this so important, and why is this in product validation? Because we all have that friend that has amazing ideas and they say, oh, this is what I'm going to do and that's what I'm going to do, and we have all of these, visions of what's going to happen. And if you ask them, okay, but what have you actually done, they say, oh, well, I'm looking into incorporating and I'm looking into that and I'm looking into this, whatever. It will all be one version of another of, I don't have a single client yet, or no one gave me any money yet. If that is the case, you haven't actually taken action yet. If you haven't sold anything, either the idea to an investor or the product to a client or something, the proof of concept, right, to a client, then you haven't actually validated your product yet. And this is very important because many people go into business without validating their product, and you shouldn't. You should always validate your product. Even before spending money on incorporating, you can validate it with your network. Like, hey, would you buy this service from me? They say, yes. Okay. Do you mind if, you just send me some, we do like a one-on-one contract, right? Whatever, and I'll work for you. I'll try to do this, or whatever it is. Or if you, sell books, you have a book written and you sell that a few times, like one-to-one to people, and you make sure people like it and actually gave you money for it. If that is the case, then you can start a legal entity. Then you can do more of this. Let's say preparation stuff and make sure you're okay. If you're already in business, let's say you're a manager in a company and you want to grow your team and so on, product validation means for you, if you're internal, validating the systems that you're putting in place. Don't just have a vision of a system and just talk about it. Set up the system, set up a proof of concept, and start trying it one-to-one with everyone on your team, right? With one person on your team, get their feedback and so on and so forth, right? Get buy-in. If you're not selling anything, but you're basically an internal stakeholder in a business, like let's say the chief of ops or something like that, you need to get buy-in. That's your way of selling something. If you get buy-in, people really love the new system or the new procedure you've come up with, then you can slowly validate it more and more, get feedback, and take it from there. Okay, so product validation is a concept you do at every level of the business. This is how you should run it. And again, step one is taking action, which means to sell it at least 3 times, let's say. Okay, number 2 is to create the right product. So you can't have the right product only in your mind. What you need to do is you need to sell it to a few people, and then basically you can get examples from other individuals in terms of how are they actually using the product, or how are they benefiting from the product. And you start getting some form of feedback. You start getting, let's say, information, data on how you can tweak your product. And this is how you create an amazing product, right? And so within this, you can have a lot of different ways in which you validate different products. For example, everyone knows Facebook nowadays. So something that Facebook does that almost no one talks about is that whenever they release a new feature, they don't release it globally. They release it to some people, some users, let's say 100,000 users, and they then get data on how those people are using it. If the data is positive, if their metrics, their KPIs that they care about are influenced positively, then they give it to another group in another country to see if they get the same results or if the results differ. You can do the exact same thing, and there are many, many examples. We go into the book around Volkswagen, around Apple, and so on and so forth. There are many ways in which you can validate products, test them, get feedback, and so on and so forth. We're not going to talk about all of those, but basically the concept and the action step for you should be very clear. Sell your product, do something, whatever your product is. Again, whether it's a system in your business, whether it's a book, whether it's a service, sell it, get feedback on it. And then after that, you can from there look at every single thing that is important for you, right? In terms of creating the best product that you can get. Okay. So now, how can we validate products, or how can we get feedback from people? So there are a few ways, and we go again extensively in the book in it. However, I'm going to mention them briefly here. Number one is one-on-one feedback meetings. I cannot tell you how many times we've consulted with people, with employees or directors or even owners, and we ask them, okay, when's the last time you had a one-on-one feedback meeting with your client? And for many people, they can't even remember the last time they had a feedback meeting, or they say something like last year or 2 years ago, right? Or they say, oh, I talk to the client every week. No. A feedback meeting for the singular purpose of getting feedback on your service or product, not a weekly checkup call. No, that's different. Exact feedback meeting with specific questions that you ask in order to get accurate data on how you're doing in their eyes. And again, in the book, we mentioned many questions, and you can do research online on what types of questions you can ask in one-to-one feedback meetings. The action step is very clear. Conduct one-to-one feedback meetings with your clients often. If you have clients paying you on recurring, every 3 months, for example. If you're just starting off, do it weekly to get feedback more often and to, adapt to whatever they are saying. If you have products, you sell products one time, try to get your buyers onto calls after they've used your product, whether that's a game or a book or anything, and then get their legitimate feedback. After that, another way in which you can get feedback is with control groups. We had a client at one point in one of our companies, Westron, which does basically innovation. We build systems for other companies. And they did something amazing. Before coming to us to say, hey, this is the product we want to build, they literally conducted several control groups with their ideal clients, and they literally were asking them, what do you think about this idea? What do you think about this idea? And they literally were brainstorming ideas. It's so valuable. That conversation, or those conversations that they were having in those control groups, were worth their weight in gold. They ended up creating millions of dollars worth of value because they've taken the time to actually talk to their end clients, or to their potential end clients. After that, another way in which you can ask for feedback is with surveys. So if you have a very large list, let's say you have 100,000 people on your list, you can't talk to all of them. So you should do surveys to get as much information as you can from as many different people. However, this does not, let's say, save you from having to do one-on-one meetings and control groups. You still need to do both of these, or at least one-on-one meetings, because those are the most valuable ones, and surveys you do on top of that. Okay. And then after that, something else that is very helpful when we talk about product validation and getting feedback is to actually do pre-sales. So before your product is ready, like let's say before a book is ready, this book, we started selling in pre-sales mode. Like the book wasn't launched. The book came out on the 9th of July. We started selling it in June. In June, we started selling the book, and we sold hundreds, I don't know, maybe even over 1,000 copies of the book before it was ready to be printed and shipped, right? Because you should always try to pre-sale. And you can pre-sale something even before committing, because we've committed a lot of time into this book and then started selling it. With a specific service, before you perfect the service, you can try pitching the idea by someone and try selling it, because you'll get feedback that way. If they don't buy, the value to benefits ratio isn't there, because if it would be there, they would buy, right? And so we'll talk about this a little bit later, but basically pre-sales is one of the best ways in which you can get feedback and validate products. And pre-sales, if we're talking about systems, again, before you put in an entire system into a business, try it with 1 or 2 people. Try it in an Excel sheet, right, or a Google sheet before investing, $50,000 into someone like Westron to build custom software for you. Just use a Google sheet, right, for a few people, test it, see if it works. And then that's pre-sales basically in case of internal processes. And then after that, you can dedicate more time into creating overarching goals, right? So moving on from there, after you've validated the product, this takes me very well into my next point, which is product positioning and selling, right? Or how to sell better, basically. Number one here is that I want to talk to you about how benefits sell. So most people sell in the wrong way. They sell in terms of characteristics advantages, and then benefits. So a characteristic, for example, is, let's say if we look at the laptop, it's the quantity of RAM or processing power or the resolution and so on and so forth. The advantages are, for example, advantages of, buying from HP or Dell, whatever, you have more certainty that it's going to be good, that the guarantee is going to be better, that the, service is going to be better, and so on and so forth. And then the benefits of you buying that is you can get your work done, you can be more productive, you can do a ton of things. However, though this method of selling works, the better method of selling is doing it the opposite way. It's literally looking at the framework from the opposite side. So start with benefits. For example, if I want to sell you a laptop, I don't sell you the amount of RAM or processing power. What I ask you is, would you like to be able to do your work faster? Would you like to be able to get more work done in less time? Would you like to be able to carry your laptop around for hours and all day and not need to charge it? So I'm selling the benefits. I'm selling productivity, mobility, convenience. I'm selling the benefits of the laptop. And by the time I'm done selling the benefit, you don't even care about these specs. You just care, or you care about the specs like just to make sure that it's comparable to something else. But by the time you look at the specs, you're already sold. So this is a very good way to sell, is you sell in terms of benefits, right? So this is what I highly recommend you do. And then after that, an even better way of selling is with stories. So I don't recommend one or the other, I recommend both. However, when we talk about stories, you basically go into what Simon Sinek calls starting with why, like going into literally the story of how is this helping other people, like, or how are other people using this laptop to get 8 hours of productivity? How are they using it to travel everywhere? How are they using it to do X, Y, or Z? Or how, if you're selling marketing services, how, this company made so many millions of dollars? Or if you're selling video production, look at the cool videos I've done in the past, and so on and so forth, and share the stories. So whilst you're selling the benefits, sell those benefits in terms of stories, right, that you can tell people. And you will see that all of these types of stories can help a lot. If you're within the company, you can sell stories of how other people within the company have succeeded, like let's say a salesperson that works, like why this framework works, because this salesperson knew nothing and then they started using our methodology, what we gave them, and they started selling millions a year and pocketing 6 figures a year. Or as in terms of clients, when you work with clients, you can sell past success stories and so on and so forth. Okay.